Hello guys, and welcome to my review of the Beats Studio 3 Wireless. This is the latest addition to the Beats lineup. This model here incorporates a active noise cancellation circuitry as well as Bluetooth connectivity and is a over-the-ear model. The front of the box here has the headphones in its side view. This is the shadow gray option, which is a matte gray finish with gold accents. The side here shows you the quote from Dr. Dre, "People aren't hearing all the music." And then the back side here shows you the features, which I'll run down for you right now. Let's see. So the top here, it says wireless Bluetooth. The second here says pure adaptive noise cancellation, which is just their marketing slogan for active noise cancellation. Third here shows that you can turn the active noise cancellation off to extend your battery life. Over here shows the actual battery life, which is up to 22 hours with full feature set enabled, such as your active noise cancellation as well as Bluetooth connectivity. And you get up to 40 hours if you use Bluetooth connectivity, but you turn the active noise cancellation off. Down here shows you the fast charge. You get about 3 hours of usage for 10 minutes of charge. And then the last two just shows you that the headphones are capable of controlling your music and managing your phone calls, as well as having a built-in wireless microphone. And over here, we have the headphones themselves again. So let's dive more into the headphones. Take a further look. Right, underneath the box here, you have the Beats logo in gold. Depending on the color scheme that you get is the color that you're going to see. Underneath that, you get the slogan, "Change the way you hear sound." Nestled underside is the case for the Studio 3 wireless, which is exactly identical to the case for the Studio 2 wireless, as well as the original Studio 2, which did not have the Bluetooth functionality. Underneath that, you have your more accessories. You have your little folder here, which houses the quick start guide, manual, and warranty information, as well as a sticker. You get two cables. Get your standard 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter connection, which also has a inline control, which allows you to speak into it because it has a built-in microphone, has play, pause, phone call manipulation, answer and hang up, as well. You can press and hold to summon your voice assistant. You also can control the volume levels. Second cable that you get is your micro USB to standard USB to charge the headphones, as well as plug the headphones up to a computer and allow a firmware update. If you are using an iOS device, thankfully due to the W1 chip, you can just update the firmware of the Beats headphones somewhat seamlessly and automatically through the actual operating system. However, for Android users such as myself, we would have to plug this headphone into our computers to then upgrade the firmware through the Beats Updater app. Lastly, you have a carabiner, which allows you to latch the case to your bag. The new Studio 3 is identical to its predecessor in terms of the build quality, the design, as well as the footprint. Internally, the changes are where they're most drastic. They've redesigned the speaker, they've redesigned the amplifier and digital to analog converter, and they've also redesigned the active noise cancellation. Externally, the redesign was done with the ear cups. They've made it a little bit softer, and they have improved the acoustic sealing to help benefit the new active noise cancellation circuitry. In terms of the actual comfort, I would say that these are about decent to good. The clamping pressure is still quite high. You would have to get used to that. They do loosen up over time, but the fact that the ear pads themselves don't have that much of a wide opening means that your ears are going to rest at the very outer edges on top of the ear pads. So these are kind of like giant on-ear headphones, and along with that clamping pressure, it can develop sore spots on the outer part of your ears over time. In terms of the design, I do love the way these look. I've always liked the way the new Studios look. They're very sleek, especially when you put them on your head. They don't protrude away from your ears, so it's a very nice, sleek, and contoured shape on your head. I do like that the color scheme here is very subdued, and it's not in your face and gaudy and just distasteful. It's a very nice, subtle, understated matte gray with very small gold glossy accents. In terms of the longevity and durability of this headphone, for me, I've never really cracked the headbands of my Beats Studios. However, I've run into issues where the AirPads would split and expose the memory foam. I'm not sure if the new AirPads on these have fixed that issue, but I have seen people with cracked headbands and they have tape on it to keep it intact. I'm saying that if you keep these headphones in its case at all times when you're not using it and you take good care of them, I don't see how you can crack the headband, but I can see how the AirPads would split because they just generally was just a poor design with the previous iteration. But like I said, I'm not too sure how the new ones fare up. You have stainless steel where the stress is the most, which is like the fold-in mechanism here. Pretty much identical to the previous Studios. Plastic construction. This is also synthetic leather here and synthetic leather at the underside of the headband. Let's go over the actual controls of the headphone. On the right ear cup, you have the power on. You have your LED notification, which tells you your battery life, and you have your micro USB connectivity. Over here, you have your 3.5 millimeter port here, and then you have your LED, which signifies your Bluetooth, pretty much your Bluetooth status. On the left ear cup, you have your controls for your media and your phone calls. If you press this is like your multi-functioning button. You can play, pause. You double press to skip forward, triple press to skip backwards, and you can press and hold to summon your voice assistant. When you're in a call, you press it once, it will hang up the call. If you're receiving a call, you press it once and it will answer the call. This outer circle portion here, the bottom portion, will reduce your volume and the top portion will increase your volume. It's pretty much identical to the previous Studios if you're familiar with that. So that's pretty much the rundown of the overall gist and the overall outer surface and controls and stuff of that nature of the headphone. Let's jump over to the sound. The Beats Studio 3 wireless has a sound that's pleasant, easy to listen to, and not offensive, which are great traits to have in a headphone. However, I am still disappointed in the sound of this headphone because I had high expectations, especially because Apple now owns the brand. Starting off with the bass region, the level of intensity has been toned down a bit, but it's been toned down too much in the sub-bass region, whereas these now sound like they roll off in that overall presence region below 70 hertz. This takes away from the sense of the visceral impact that you get from the bass, that visceral sense of foundation, and just the overall sense of dynamics as well, because you want the headphones to be able to extend as deeply as possible. And these just don't do it in the bass. The bass is more focused around the mid-bass region and the upper bass region, which has a tendency to bleed into the mid-range because it doesn't have that finesse control over those frequencies, especially of a headphone of this price. The bass tightness, the focus, the sense of dynamics and impact is just a bit mediocre. It sounds a bit fat, if I can put it into that kind of perspective. It just sounds a bit fat and nearly monotone. I'm not really going to push it to that level, but it just sounds nearly to that point. There's still details to be heard in that frequency, but I just wish it was shaped up and a little bit more quicker in its response and transients and being able to give you that tactile punch and feedback that I'm so used to with other headphones, such as the Bowers & Wilkins PX and the Sony WH-1000 XM2s. Moving over to the mid-range, these are pretty clear and detailed in that frequency response. However, they do suffer from the bass bleeding over into that region. Creates this kind of like overly hefty and emphasized chesty sound to the lower mid-range that does hurt the vocals a bit. And it really hurts the sense of space in the recording. In terms of separation, still, this is actually pretty good in terms of placing the instruments around and keeping them separated, but because the sense of space and the sense of depth is just really not there with these headphones, and the soundstage being so narrow and constrained as a result, it sounds like everything is kind of all coming from one spot, but they're still somewhat separated, which is a good thing, because if they were not separated and they were all coming from one spot, then we would have a disaster. Moving over to the treble, thankfully they're not harsh. They sound pretty clean. They're not grainy. I don't really notice any glaring issues with the treble. Other than that, they don't really extend that far. which also hurts the sense of dynamics. I had somewhat of a similar issue with the Bowers and Wilkins PX, but I feel that the PX extends pretty good. It's just that the overall treble on the Bowers and Wilkins PX was kind of shelved down a bit. However, the treble on this is excited in the lower treble region, but then it just takes a giant shelve downwards in the upper treble region, somewhat similar to the way the bass is. It's kind of like a V-shaped sound. And that really hurts the dynamics when you have emphasis in those frequencies, but then at the very extremes, it rolls off. That's what I don't like about these headphones. And due to the fact that the treble also rolls off, hurts the sense of space, which is my main gripe with these headphones. The soundstage just sounds too narrow, and the bass just sounds a bit too soft and not as defined and focused as I would like. Basically saying, these are not really worth the price, honestly, guys. If you want a headphone in this price range, I would much higher recommend the Sonys or the Bose QC35-2s. They both sound better. They both have more features, and they're the same price. Unless you have to have Beats, unless you really like the design of Beats, okay, then that's you. You can get these headphones, but do know that you're not getting the best sound that you can get for this price range. If you want a headphone that just kills it, and I absolutely mean kills it in terms of sound whilst being wireless and having active noise cancellation, look no further than literally getting the Bowers and Wilkins PX, which are these right here. And in terms of the aesthetics, I would say that these are quite beautiful headphones. They just scream premium quality. But in terms of sound, these are still my champions, my go-to headphones for wireless active noise cancellation. So overall, I do see the effort that was placed with this company. I'm not going to just completely shunt this company away. I do see that they made an effort. They've improved the active noise canceling. It doesn't have that much of a white noise as the previous iteration does. It's a bit better in terms of its effectiveness. They've tried to improve the AirPads for comfort. They've tried to improve the speaker. This does sound better than the previous studios, but a lot of other companies are making strides as well, and they're showing that they're better at designing, acoustic properties better than these headphones. So if I would have to recommend this to anyone, it would just be to someone who just needs to have Beats. But if you are wanting to spend, at this current time of the video, $350, I would steer you towards the Sonys or the Bose. If you want the best sound, definitely get the Bowers and Wilkins PX. Until something better comes along, these are the champions for now. So if there has been something in this video review that I have not covered, please feel free to answer in the comments below, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you for watching. Later.